Lacey Buggy Crew and welcome back to another video. Today is a bit of a new test drive, I guess you would say, for a new video. Today I'm going to be reading Enid Blyton's Stories for Bedtime book. I read this when I was younger, a lot younger. But if you haven't already and this is the first time you see my face on your screen, smack that subscribe button, smack the notification bell and hit that like button. So I am not able to record gaming videos at the moment. I will be possibly tomorrow filming again. So today we're going to be reading Mr. Stampabout in a Fix. I've written 3 times to Mr. Tiles to tell him to come and mend my roof. God knows what that voice was. Said Mr. Stampabout to his sister. And what does he say? He says he's too busy. Pah! Too busy to mend my roof. Just wait till I see him. Please don't stamp on that rug, said his sister. You're making such a dust. I think it's because you're so bad-tempered that people won't come and do things for you. Now stop stamping. If you want to beat the dust out of that rug, take it out, hang it over the line and beat it. What type of book is this? Pah! Said Mr. Stampabout and stalked out of the room. He put on his hat and went to find Mr. Tiles. He found him in a shed, getting together his tools to go and do a job of work. Mr. Stampabout caught hold of him. Ha! I suppose you're just about to come to mend my roof. Now don't you dare say that you weren't. You come along with me this minute. Little Mr. Tiles looked at the big, fierce Mr. Stampabout. Let go, he said. If you force me to go with you like this, I'll have to come. But I won't put your tiles on properly, so there. Oh yes you will, said Mr. Stampabout, because I'll sit by and watch you. Okay. And not a penny will you get if you don't do your best work. Now bring some tiles along with you and a pot of paint too to touch up the gutters, and I shall sit on a chimney pot and watch you. That sounds kind of creepy. You will you? Said little Mr. Tiles. Right, I'll get the tiles. Here they are, and I'll bring this pot and this brush along with me. Off we go! And off they went together, Mr. Stampabout holding on fast to Mr. Tiles in case he ran off, but he didn't. He walked along quite admirably and talked about the weather. Fetch the ladder. Oh, wait, no. Fetch the ladder, said Mr. Stampabout when they got to his house. It's in my shed. Climb up it first and begin to put on the new tiles. I'm going to have a cup of hot cocoa. I thought you were meant to be watching him, as it's a cold day. Then I'll come up the ladder and sit on the chimney pot and watch you. I'll have a fine view of your work, I can tell you. Mr. Tiles went to fetch the ladder. He set it up against the gutter and climbed up. Mr. Stampabout had disappeared into his house to get his cocoa. That would be so me. It'd be like, I'm going to make sure you do this, and instead just go inside and not come out again. Dear, he hadn't even thought of offering cold Mr. Tiles a cup. Still, that suited Mr. Tiles all right. He had something to do before Mr. Stampabout came out again. He climbed the ladder quickly. Taking his tiles with him, he set them down on the roof, and then went back to his pot and brush. He grinned as he brought those up. He took a quick look down. Mr. Stampabout was nowhere to be seen. He was somewhere in the house having cocoa and biscuits. Oh, cocoa and biscuits sound so nice right now. Mr. Tiles looked at the two chimneys sticking up out of the roof. One was smoking, one wasn't. So that was the one that Mr. Stampabout would sit on to watch Mr. Tiles doing his work. Aha! Mr. Tiles climbed up to the chimney pot. It was squat and round. He took his brush and dipped it into his pot. He painted the rim of the pot and round and round and round. But not with paint, oh no. There was no paint in that pot. There was glue. Nice sticky glue. Aha, Mr. Stampabout, you didn't know that, did you? Because the pot was labelled white paint, Mr. Tiles grinned. He slid down to where? It's actually small pictures. They're not that, this is quite an old book. The roof needed new tiles and set to work. Presently he heard Mr. Stampabout climbing up the ladder. He saw him clambering up to the chimney pot and sitting himself flat down on it, as if it were a stool. Mr. Tiles grinned to himself. Now get on, Tiles, said Stampabout. I can see everything you do. You're to work well and quickly. I'm not going to pay you too much either. Wow, you grabbed the bloke out of his shed, throw him up a ladder to your roof to do work in the freezing cold, and you wouldn't even pay him good for it. You're going to pay me £5, said Mr. Tiles. Or your sister is. Oh, using a sister card. £5, Mr. Stampabout. Part payment for his work and part payment for your bad temper. If Mr. Stampabout hadn't been stuck fast to the chimney pot, he would have fallen off in rage. He stamped his feet on the roof and loosened another tile. That's no good, said Mr. Tiles. That will cost you even more for another tile. Still, Stampabout, I don't mind your paying me more money. Stampabout shouted, roared and stamped. Mr. Tiles took no notice. He finished his work and went down the ladder. £5 and 5 shillings. What year was this made in? Shillings? He shouted to Stampabout. Shillings are like, I think they're equivalent to like a 50p. I'll get it from your sister, as I'm sure you won't give it to me. Mr. Stampabout tried to get out from his chimney pot seat, but he couldn't. Something seemed to be holding him back. What could it be? Come back! Don't you dare to ask my sister to pay you, he yelled. I'll pay you £1, and that's too much. Goodbye, said Mr. Tiles, jumping off the ladder. Be careful you don't loosen any more tiles. Damn, you've got to get that little snap in there. And I've just lost my place by doing that. Oh, there we go. He went into his house and told Stampabout's sister. She gave him £5 and 5 shillings. She took it out of out of the cash box and gave it to him. He beamed and went out. "Where's my brother?" Wait, no, that's the sister. "Where's my brother?" called the sister. I must just be certain the amount is right." "He won't come in for a bit," said Mr. Tiles with a grin. "You can ask him then." Off he went, looking back now and again to see the furious Mr. Stampabout. There he sat on the chimney, trying his best to get up, but the glue was too strong for him. He raged and stamped and shouted, and soon a collection of interested people came to watch. I'm stuck, he yelled. "Get me down!" But people were afraid of his bad temper, and besides, they were pleased to see horrid old Stampabout stuck up on his own chimney pot. And will you believe it? There he had to stay till a downpour of rain came and thinned out the glue. Poor Mr. Stampabout, he was soaked. And there he is. And there he is falling on his bum, on his butt. Though he was soaked, and he missed his footing as he climbed down the roof, bounced down the ladder and landed with a bump on the ground. That's gonna leave a mark. Stampabout! I can't even tell who's talking. I'm guessing it says, "Stampabout, what do you think you are doing, sitting on a chimney pot, shouting and yelling like that, and then falling off the roof?" cried his sister. "I'm ashamed of you. You can go straight up to bed. I've had enough of you today." It's like, "I'm your mum. Go to your room, naughty kid." And you'll hardly believe it, but Stampabout had such a lesson that he did go straight up to bed. He never forgot his day on the chimney pot, and neither did anyone else. That is the end of the first story. I will do this story as well, since it's only 3 pages and it's quite short. The Grumpy Goblins. Alan was cross and tired. He had worked hard at school all day. I know how that feels. And then when he had got home to tea, his mother had sent him out on errands until bedtime. "I haven't done my homework," said Alan to his mother when she said it was time for bed. "Well, what homework is it?" she asked. I've got to think of 12 words beginning with GR, said Alan. Miss Brown says the GR family is quite easy, and we must all come to school tomorrow ready to make sentences with words beginning with those 2 letters. So, Mother, I must sit down and think some out. Oh, you can do that. You can do that in bed, said Mother, and Alan had to go upstairs at once. He was cross because he felt sure it would be difficult to think out homework in bed. And he was right, for no sooner was he under the bedclothes, trying to think, than his mind wandering away, and he wouldn't even try to get hold of any GR words. If only somebody would tell me a few, thought the little boy. He opened his eyes, and how he stared. What do you think he saw? He saw 6 funny little goblins sitting on his bed rail, and one of them was holding a dog on a lead. The dog was just like Alan's own toy dog, but he seemed to be very much alive. "Who are you?" said Alan, sitting up. "We're the Grumpy Goblins," said one. "Oh," said Alan. "I suppose you are always cross then." "We grumble," said one. "And we groan," said another. "And we grouse," said the third. "And we growl," said the dog. Wait, the dog spoke? What the hell? Unexpectedly, and gave a fierce growl that made Alan jump. He tried to spring down onto the bed, but the goblin pulled him back. "Grab him," said the others. "He wants one of their... Oh, wait, no. He wants one of my chocolates," said Alan, seeing the little dog sniffing in the direction of the box of sweets. Chocolate's nice. "Greedy dog," said the goblin. "Who had the dog's lead?" "Grubby fellow," said another. The dog jumped back onto the bed rail, with a grunt. "He grunts like a pig," said the first goblin. "Gracious," said the dog's master. "Now he's grinning." Sure enough, the dog was smiling from ear to ear. Alan thought it was almost interesting. "Do tell me why you've come to visit me," said Alan. "Your grievance called us," said the goblins. "Though gruff and grumpy and grave, we granted your wish." "What wish?" said Alan sleepily. "Well, where's your gratitude?" snapped the goblin. "Come, grumpies, and gradually, gracefully. "Gradually, gracefully what?" said Alan, half asleep. But the grumpy goblins were gone. The dog jumped down onto the bed and cuddled beside Alan. The little boy slept. When he awoke in the morning, he looked at the dog and remembered the queer goblins. "You are my own toy dog after all," he said. "I wonder what you were doing with those goblins." "Oh, I think I know. You fetched them to do my homework for me." "Yes, they did it all. I can write down heaps of words beginning with GR this morning, and I guess I'll get top marks." He did. Could you? That is all I have for this video, guys, because I don't want to make it too long and boring. Those were the first 2 stories of Stories for Bedtime book. There's 50 stories altogether, so I'm thinking of making this a series. If you would like... Oh, my controls died. Sorry. If you would like to see more of me reading stories or any other type of books, smack the like button. And please don't forget hitting the subscribe button because it helps my channel grow. Also, my Instagram, 2 Star Trek fan, and my TikTok, Kate Spicer YT. And also visit my friends' channels, which is Nerdy Does Stuff and Evident Games. And also, I think it's called Lacey and Storm Spicer. That's the shout out for you, Lacey and Storm Spicer. So shout out to her for saying that she was not scared of Roblox horror games when I'm a right pussycat. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye!